What is going on, everybody? This time for the second half of my show tonight. The first half I talked about why the Colts took out the Broncos and why the Patriots defeated the Ravens, and now I'm going to talk about the NFC games from this past weekend, which includes the Cowboys defeated the hands of the Green Bay Packers, and the Carolina Panthers road coming to an end, losing in Seattle to the Seahawks. First off, let's talk about Dallas and Green Bay, because this game was the one game that I thought had the potential to have all the star power and for everything to come to life. And I got to be honest, this game was as good of a game as I've seen in a while. Because you think about high quality games and you think, oh, like the Ravens-Patriots game was better, or maybe some other games early in the year were better. But this game was so much fun to watch because you had two great teams going at it, two teams with high-powered offenses, and to see the defenses have such a say in what went on in this game was incredible. I mean, you look at it, Dallas got to Tony Romo one time, hit him twice. Green Bay got to Tony Romo. Dallas got to Aaron Rodgers one time, hit him twice. Green Bay got to Tony Romo 4 times, hit him 8 times. The defenses played such a big part in this game. And neither quarterback really felt uncomfortable. I mean, if you look at the stats, Romo had a QBR of 77.8 and Rodgers had one at 83.1, but that doesn't do it justice because the defenses in this game were really instrumental on some big downs. But for the offenses, I would have to say right now, the reason why the Packers won this game is because they do have the best quarterback in the NFL. And I'm not a huge Rodgers fan, but I'm turning into one for he's playing through the pain. He's becoming a really fun guy to watch in commercials. And you know what? I'm more or less pissed about them winning the Super Bowl against the Steelers than anything else. It's more or less that grudge. But I guess I got to move on and give the champions their due. They deserve to win in that game and play better, but at the same time, it doesn't make it easier to know that my Steelers lost another Super Bowl. But that was 4 or 5 years ago. But anyways, let's talk about this game right here, because when Dallas got out to that 14-7 lead, they really could have put that game away. They had another drive at the end of the half that they could have done something with, but they didn't. That ultimately led to the Packers getting a drive, driving down, getting the field goal. If Dallas had put a touchdown on the board by then, there's a good chance they might have won the game. That might have been it, because maybe Dallas starts to run the football a little more and eat up the clock more, because you look at the time of possession, it was pretty even. Dallas 30 minutes, 39 seconds. Green Bay 29 minutes, 21 seconds. You never know. Dallas might have chewed up a little more clock. What I like to think of in this game for Green Bay, what they did so well was that they stayed committed to Aaron Rodgers and didn't abandon him for the run game. Because my X factors for this game heading in was Eddie Lacy and DeMarco Murray, in which running back could make more plays, gain more yards, and still keep the team on his back. And although DeMarco Murray had a better game, slightly lower yards per carry, but he had more yards and he had a touchdown, what I think needs to be said is that what won this game was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did not play very well in the first half. When the second half came around, he really started to play some good ball. He had 2 touchdown passes, one to Rich Rodgers and one to Davante Adams. I mean, you look at the Green Bay Packers receivers. They had a hell of a game. Cobb had 116 yards on 8 catches. Davante Adams, the rookie, 117 on 7 catches. Corliss, Rodgers, and Adams had touchdowns. They just played well. Ultimately, though, the Dez Bryant catch is what's been talked about more than anything. The one at the end of the fourth quarter where it was 4th down, they went for it, and had it been stayed a catch, it would have been the ball on the 1-yard line. When I first saw the first few replays, I thought it was a catch. But I do remember this. The rule states that if you lose the ball at any point while trying to make a catch, it's an incomplete pass. And he lost it for a few seconds, and that was all that was needed to overturn that and make the correct call that it was incomplete. Detroit Lions fans sitting at home be like, how's karma work for you? But anyways, I mean, I'm not a Lions fan. I just thought the joke was funny. The way that I look at this game, Tony Romo and Aaron Rodgers, pretty much it was just a duel between those two. But DeMarco Murray got going. He had 123 yards and 25 carries and a touchdown. He had a very good ending to his season. But the thing about it that made this game, worth watching was just the fact that it was two great teams going at it, and just getting to sit back and watch it made it so much fun. Because It was a game, Dallas had the lead early, Green Bay came back, Dallas took another small lead, and then Green Bay just put it away, those 2 touchdowns. However, coming out of this game, a lot of people are probably going to say, well, Romo loses another playoff game, or, Jason Garrett maybe doesn't deserve that extension. I'll be honest with you. Tony Romo, right now, is the 3rd best quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. No comparison. He's better than Danny White, I think. A lot better. I mean, he's taken less talented teams to the same playoff rounds that he did. But here's the point. If not for Tony Romo coming along midway through 2006, Cowboys are still mired in mediocrity. Might have gotten one of the high-picked quarterbacks of the last 6-7 years early on because they'd have been so terrible. Tony Romo's been a big part of why this team got to where it was. So any blame that falls on him is misguided and idiotic. I thought that the skill position players had a good game, but what I really thought was impressive was the way that the secondary for the Green Bay Packers, Jamon Williams and Sham Shields, Clinton Dix, how they were, and Morgan Burnett, were able to shut down Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams. They combined for 4 catches and 76 yards. 38 of those came on 1 catch for Terrence Williams, and it was the touchdown. They really helped control those 2 and make Tony Romo beat them with other targets. I mean, Wooden had a good game, 6 catches, 71 yards. But if you look at it, the Cowboys' wide receivers, they're maybe a little bit deeper than Green Bay, but their top 2 are not as good combined. I will take Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb over Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams any day. And if you want to go third receivers, fine. Devontae Adams is light years ahead of Cole Beasley. But that's how I feel about that game. I felt Green Bay played a little better, particularly in the fourth quarter. They were able to get some yards on the ground in the fourth quarter and really able to kind of grind it out. And the Bailey field goal, it had very little impact, but it would have given Dallas a little more of a cushion at the end of this first half. Now, for the other game, but ultimately I said Green Bay would win like 38-31. A lot less scored than I thought because I think the defenses took advantage of the bad weather and played a little bit better. But still, Green Bay did win, and I called it. I thought that even with Aaron Rodgers hobbled, the fact that they were in Green Bay was enough to get a victory. And now to move on to the most one-sided game of the weekend, which would be Carolina and Seattle. This game right here, I saw about most of it until about early in the fourth quarter, and then I fell asleep because I'll be honest with you, this game was kind of lame. I don't mean to be rude, but it was kind of one of those lame kind of games because I think that Seattle played very well, and I think Carolina was really overmatched. I really do. Just look at it. Cam Newton's QBR was 21.9. Russell Wilson's was 83.3. I mean, the fact is Carolina played very, very well. They did. But again, that Legion of Boom defense is something to see. It really is. I mean, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, who I believe should take the H out of his name and just call himself Cam Chancellor. It'd be a lot cooler and jersey sales would go up. Earl Thomas, and for the little that Byron Maxwell played, and they even had Simon in the game, and he had a pretty decent game. Ultimately, what it boiled down to in this game was this. I said Seattle would win 24-10. But going back on it, each scored another touchdown. They did. But both of those touchdowns are kind of dead weight. The last touchdown that Carolina scored was a dead weight touchdown. The Seattle interception, even if they stop, whatever. But the point is this. Carolina proved that they're a good team on the rise, and once they get some of their players off injury and they build a little bit up in free agency in the draft, they'll be a contender for the next 4 or 5 years as long as Cam Newton stays healthy. But Seattle did prove why they're the defending champions and why they're the best team in the NFC. They proved it again because just look at the numbers. Russell Wilson went out, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, his pass rating 149.2. You look at Jeremy Curse, 129 yards and a touchdown. Luke Wilson had a touchdown. Doug Baldwin had a touchdown. They were just in complete control of this game. Bruce Irvin and Cliff Averill with key sacks at key moments in the game. They hit Cam Newton 8 times. They just consistently knocked him on his ass. I mean, particularly Cliff Averill, Bruce Irvin, and Schofield. They were everywhere. Seattle's front may have lost a few guys in the offseason compared to what they had this time last year, but they're just as strong and as athletic as ever. And if you look at the way they're going to match up, they're going to give Green Bay a lot of problems. Marshawn Lynch again. 59 yards on 14 carries, a respectable game for him, especially because Carolina's front had just been shutting down running backs the last 3-4 weeks. Now for Carolina's running game, they actually ran the ball better than I thought they would. Jonathan Stewart had 70 yards, Cam Newton had 37. But again, you take away the longest runs they had, and their yards per carry does drop off a little bit. But the thing about it is Carolina knew in this game that if they did try to beat Seattle with the run game, it probably would not work because Seattle's front four is way too good for that. And again, statistically, if you look at where the Seahawks rank in terms of run defense anyway, it's not like it would have made a difference. I mean, just where they stack up. They're third in yards allowed. They're second in yards per carry allowed. And you look at the teams this year that they went against. I mean, the last 6 weeks of the regular season, only one team ran for over 100 yards on the Seahawks, and that was the 49ers. Every other team had been either 64 yards or fewer. Carolina did a good job to get the yards that it did, but Seattle, Russell Wilson was just too much. My final analysis is this. Carolina, going into Seattle, playing as hard as they can, was still completely over. The Legion of Boom proved it. The defensive line proved it. Russell Wilson proved it, and the offensive line of Seattle proved it too. They were just too good, and the Carolina was overmatched. Anyways, I'll probably be back later on in the middle of the week when I break down what I think will happen in the NFC and AFC championship games, which will feature Indianapolis at New England and Green Bay at Seattle. So everybody enjoyed my segments tonight. Take care and have a good one, everybody.